It's Mike at the Sports Car Hobby Shop. Today we're going to discuss an incident that happened at Summit Point Raceway last week. A friend of mine sent me video of his misfortune, and we're going to review it because I have video of me doing the exact same thing, but being able to ride it out and save it. And this is a good comparison of two offs and what can happen when you do things right and when you do things wrong. So we're going to walk through these two sections of video, and we'll discuss in a fair amount of detail what our unfortunate friend should have done differently that caused him to have an off and an impact exiting turn 10 at Summit Point. I'm going to start putting together some videos like this of my own misfortunes and some of the things that I've recorded on track that have worked, that haven't worked, explain some things about some of the tracks that I enjoy driving, and hopefully you guys will get something out of it and some benefit, and all of you can chime in the comments and give me thumbs up or thumbs down or give suggestions. So this is the first one in the series, and we're going to give it a try and see how it goes. So with that, let's move forward to the first video of our friend exiting turn 10 at Summit, Maine last week. So as you can tell through the first video, our friend seems to be committed to the fact that once he cranks the steering wheel to try to bring it back on the track, he almost instinctively knows that the car's going to rotate around on him. And one of the reasons that you can tell is his anticipation and the build up to the impact. And I think that because he has been here previously, fairly recently, he's already committed to the crash. And what I mean there is, that pit in your stomach feeling of, here we go again. That's a very, very hard thing to overcome as a rookie racer, especially when you're just overcoming another event like that within a window of time. It takes a lot of patience to drive through an incident that you've previously had, and it really requires you to take a couple of measured steps back and try to commit yourself to keeping the car going in the right direction. Now let's look at the video from last June's June Joust when I took an offline pass on a Miata, and the car protested loudly, and I went off exactly in the same manner as our unfortunate friend did. So when you listen to the throttle input on both video clips, you can notice a couple of different things, but also watching the steering input kind of telegraphs a few things as well. I like to think that, you know, there's a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill, and the more experience you build over time, the more skill takes over, and the less you have to rely on luck. So in my case, I've been an avid mountain biker, and when I was a kid, a BMX racer and a dirt bike, hare scramble, woods motorcycle kind of guy, growing up out in the country and playing in the dirt a lot, sliding bicycles around and mountain bikes around and doing downhill runs at really, really fast speeds, getting loose on 2 and 4 wheels is something I've been fairly comfortable with over the years. So I don't have that instance of panic that maybe some drivers would have. You can find traction in grass. I don't recommend it often, but just because you go into the grass doesn't mean that you have to automatically assume the worst, or that you're at least going to spin out and possibly make impact with a hard barrier. You have to be committed to saving the race car first at most costs, not all costs, but most costs. But of equal importance, you want to bring the car back on track safely. You don't want to take out guys behind you trying to do this miraculous save, but at the same point in time, you want to commit to the race or the lap and saving the car. It's critical to do that. Never give up the fight to save an incident and turn it into an accident. So I think that when you go back and you look at both videos, you can tell that I'm pedaling the throttle. You can hear me get on and off the throttle while I'm driving the car through the same series of dips and humps, and I take it out a little further because I'm comfortable driving the car as far as I can until I can kind of hop it back onto the track. I've got a lot of laps at Summit Point Raceway, both as an instructor, as a driver, as a racer. I'm probably more comfortable around that track than some folks, and I'm really comfortable around that track, off in the grass in some areas, and I'm fortunate that I've only had a couple of incidents where I've actually, been in trouble on that track, and most of the time it's been, in the passenger seat of a student's car. So what the takeaway here should be is always try to drive the car out of the incident. You have 3 things that are really critical that you have control of. You have control of the steering, you have control of the throttle, and you have control of the brake. And once you get off in the grass, it's just like being off in wet pavement on the off-rain line. You have to be judicious with the throttle, you have to be more judicious with your steering and much more deliberate with the steering, and you have to be careful with how you apply the brakes. Honestly, when I went off in this segment, and I'll show the reverse view in a moment, but when I went off in this segment, I don't think I touched the brakes at all. I knew to stay either in the throttle or part throttle and steer and just kind of go with it to bring it back on. I think that that's probably the biggest takeaway from most of the incidents where I've been forced off track, or when something mechanical has happened, or I've taken evasive maneuvers not to be involved in an incident. Once you go off track, once you commit to going into the grass, commit equally to coming back onto the pavement safely and carrying on with your lap. Finish the lap. If you commit to that, most times you will not crash. Most times you've already got mentally in your head that you're going to win this incident. You're going to bring the car home safely. So let's take a look at it from the rear view camera, and then we'll wrap it up. So as you see from the rear view, the car definitely did not like me taking the offline going into turn 10. I probably cranked a little more steering than I should have. One of the things that I did notice when I corner balanced the car after that event, I corner balance my cars before every race weekend, just as an aside. But one of the things I noticed was that although I had a good right-left wedge set up, I did not have enough weight distributed to the right rear, and I think that right rear really needed a little bit more weight And Jack Higginbotham had made some comments to me about how the car kind of seemed like it was a little bit loose in the right-hand corners, but going through the chute it seemed a little planted. So that told me I needed to probably put a little bit more weight in the right rear, and that's what I did to cure the car being a little freer, a little looser going into those right-hand corners. All I did was move some right front weight to the right rear, and that cured that. So anyway, you can see in the footage from the rear, I really should have benefited from a little patience and taken a little more time to get around the Miata. I could have just gotten a much better run around him going out of turn 10 rather than passing him going into turn 10 where the radius tightens up, and clearly the car didn't like that line. And I think that that's something that we can all take away from this, is that, you know, you need to think in terms of geometry. This particular individual that crashed the car at the beginning of the segment of this video, he entered the corner a tad early, and it put him off early out into the gravel, and he's going to need to work on being patient and going a little later onto the entry to the apex. And to show him thanks for actually allowing me to use this video, I'm going to offer to take some time and coach him at Summit Point at the next event that I'm free to go up and give him a hand. He's a fairly new racer, trying to sort it out. Like many of us, he's on a limited budget. So as my thanks to him for sharing this video footage with me, I'm going to show him that thanks by giving him a day of coaching. So Jack, this next one's on me. Please share your comments. Please share your suggestions offline with me, either at Mike's Sports Car Hobby Shop on Facebook or in the comments below. If you want to participate in a future video episode, if you want me to critique something, please do share your stuff offline with me. You can do it at Mike's Sports Car Hobby Shop, or you can send me an email to dat74z@yahoo.com, or through YouTube, and we'll go from here. I'd like to build a series of videos on some of the things that we can all learn from this motorsport thing we love to do, and if it's finds value and worth in the community, then I'll keep doing them, and if not, then we'll call it a day. And on that note, I'm going to sign off now. Mike's Sports Car Hobby Shop out. Bless you all. Please be safe.